Today we're going to continue with learning about the island tutorial. So make sure you pay the class fee of a like or subscribe. And if you really enjoyed the Lewis scripting language, then I've got a book out. It's on Amazon. It's on my website. It's available in multiple formats, including paperback and hardback. It is a textbook, so it'll lead you through. It gives you practice projects to expand your Lua programming skills. So let's get into making our island tutorial. Today we're going to add coins to the environment and a little bit of scripting so that we can pick those coins up. So let's get started. First, we're going to jump over here to our workspace again, and we've been creating in our world folder. We've already got the model. Today we're going to add a new folder, and we're going to call it coin. There we go. Call it coin. And that's where we're going to store our coin models. So in coin, we're going to add a new part, and that we're going to just simply use the a simple cylinder flattened as our coin. So we'll go over here to part, go down here to cylinder, and there's our cylinder. You can see it there. Let's move that up a little bit and over to towards the beginning of where our game will be. And we're going to need to modify this a little bit. First of all, I want it to be flatter. So I'm going to go down here to the size, and we're going to change the X to a 1. There, that's kind of a fat coin. Let's make it a 0.6. There, now it's a little flatter. There's the coin, a closer look at that. That's still kind of a thick coin. Let's make that a little more flat. Play with it until you're happy with it, and then let's make it a little bigger, maybe an 8, and then a Z of 4. There we go. That looks like a good coin. And then we need to go in and change that coin's appearance. We're going to make it gold, so it looks like a gold coin. Let's change the material to metal, and we'll change the color to a nice gold color, or at least yellow. There we go. And now it looks a little bit more like a coin. Let's turn it on its side so it looks a little bit more like a certain game we won't mention because we don't want a copyright strike. To do that, we'll just go over here to rotate, and I'm going to turn it on its side. There we go. That's not quite perfect. Let's go in here, and right now that's set at 70. Let's change that to 75. Okay, not quite what I want. Let's make it 90 orientation. There we go. And then we could, yeah, that's looking much better. There we go. And we can even make this spin in our script, but for right now this will work. Okay, so with my coin selected, let's rename that as coin and drag that up under coin so it's in the right place inside my world and I can easily work with it. And then we're going to set it as an anchor so that it is a static object like we mentioned before, and it floats. It's not affected by gravity, so it'll just simply stay there and look like a coin floating in space. Okay, now let's make some copies of this. Now I'm going to click on the move button, and I'm going to hold down on the control button and press D, and that creates a duplicate of my coin. And now I have a second coin. You can move it over here a little bit. And let's make about 10 of these coins. So just keep it easy. Let's turn around this file so it'll be again. And our player will be able to run into these inside game environment. Make sure all accessible. There's 5. And it'll be again. It'll be again. Okay, now we've got 10 of our coins up there. We're now ready to start scripting. So we're going to go over, we can close world here and go down here to where it says server script service. Now this is creating a script, a Lua script. Type in the word script, and we'll go ahead and say yes. Okay. Now it'll automatically open up the scripting tool that's in Roblox, and here you can see this. And I'm going to up the size of this a little bit so it's a little more easy, so it's a little easier to see on the recording. I used Control equal sign. That'll increase the size of your, or zoom in on your video. The first thing we need to do is get rid of this hello world. We are not going to be using that. And we're going to create some variables. Putting 2 dashes in a row gives you a comment. Comments are very critical so that when you can go back and edit script later, you know exactly what that script is for. So this is just going to be initialize our services, and it'll take care of our variables and all that. In the Lewis scripting language, which is what we're using, we use the keyword local, and local, it tells the scripting that this is a variable that is only going to be used in this routine, in this particular script. It's not going to be available outside of this script. So we're going to create a local called workspace, capital W, and we'll set that equal to the game.getServices, and we're going to get workspace, which means, so we are creating a variable called workspace. It is pulling from the game, our data model. It's using the get service, and it's pulling in our workspace. So it's going to know everything that's in our world that we've created in the Explorer. That's what that command does for us. Then we're going to create a second variable, and it's going to be players, and that's going to keep track of all the players that are currently playing the game. And again, we'll use get service, and this time we're going to ask it to return the players. So that'll be all the players in the game. So that's our first two variables, workspace and players. And then we're going to need a variable called coins folder. Now notice that I left the C lowercase and the F uppercase. This is called camel capitalization. It's commonly used in scripting languages and programming. Basically, we keep the lowercase character for all of our variables, and then every word that's part of it, because programming languages don't like spaces, every significant word, we capitalize that first letter, and that makes it easier to read it as a programmer. That's going to be set equal to our workspace dot world dot coin, just like what we have here. So the coins folder is pointing at all the coins in the game environment. So it's looking at that folder. If you named your coins or something different, or my coins, whatever, then you will need to change this, because this is pointing at this specific folder. And then we're going to do another variable, and we're going to call this coins. And that's going to pull from our coins folder, and it's going to get all of the children. The get children command says pull in all of these coins and store them in this variable called coins. So it goes to the coins folder, gets the children, and stores it in this variable called coins. Easy peasy, right? So we're keeping track of all of the coins in my game environment. And at this point, the coins are all that I really care about, because the coins are what this particular script is going to interact with. And then we're going to set another variable and call it cooldown, and set that equal to 10. And that's how much time needs to go down, has to happen before that coin can be collected again. Okay, it's time to create our first function, and that is keeping track of, has the coin been touched or not. So we're going to do our keyword local again, because this is a function that is local to this routine, to this particular script. We're going to use the keyword function that tells it that this is a function. Now, a function, if you're not familiar with that in programming terms, is something that's repeatable. I can call this and use this multiple times. For example, if I had a lamp, I might have an on-off function, because it can be done multiple times. I call that function, the lamp turns on. I call the function again, the lamp turns off. So this function is going to keep track of is the coin touched. So we're going to call it on coin touched. Always used good names for what you're going to call your functions. And I need to know what touched the coin. So that we're going to call that other part. And we need to know which coin was touched. There we go. Now, every function, when you create it, is going to have an end. And our Roblox scripting tool automatically puts the keyword end to show that we have reached the end of that function. So let's tell it what needs to happen inside that function. So if the coin, and we're going to use get attribute, is enabled, in other words, it's not cooling down. If it's enabled, then we want to be able to collect the coin. And so we'll use a couple of variables. Local character equals the other part dot parent. And that tells it which person touched, or which player touched the coin, who's going to be associated with this. This way we can have multiple people in the same environment, playing the same environment at the same time, and each one is going to be kept track of separately. So we can keep track of who the character was that touched the coin. So yes, that's right, we're making a multiplayer game as we're doing this. Then we're going to do another local player equals the players. And we want to get player from character. That's this one. You just push the down arrow and press the enter key to select it, so you don't have to type all that out. And then what the character was. There we go. Now we've got the player's information in there. And then we need a second if then. If player, then, in other words, the player touched it, coin dot transparency equals 1. So the coin is going to be transparent. Let's give a comment in here so that we know exactly what's happening. Remember, 2 dashes for comments. And basically this if then handles if a player touched a coin. Do notice that proper etiquette when we're doing Lewis scripting is that we tab in each time we have a new level of programming. So my local here is the highest level, my local function, and then the if coin is underneath that local function. And because I tab in each time I've got something happening inside of something else, it's easy to tell where I'm at inside the program. This is just common courtesy. You could actually have everything over here at the 0 column, but that makes your code really hard to read, and you will hate yourself for doing that. So just go ahead and tab in. It just makes life easier. Fortunately, the Roblox Studio scripting tool automatically tabs in each time we have a function or an if or something like that. And that makes it a lot easier for everybody. So then we're going to take our coin and we're going to set the attribute to enabled. The enabled attribute, and we're going to change that to false, which basically change if it's saying that we cannot touch it after this. And we're going to send a nice little print command to us, the developer, saying that a player has collected the coin. This will help with troubleshooting. Print is going to be your friend when you are working on a more complex script. It helps you find where you're at, what's going wrong, or if anything's gone wrong. Something always goes wrong, so just assume it will. And then we're going to set a task for the coin and tell it to wait and pass it the cooldown variable. That how long to wait in cooling that down so nobody else can touch it. And then coin transparency, set it to 0. So we set the coin transparency to 0 so nobody can see it. And then coin set attribute back to, for the enabled, to true. And then, so after our count of 10, then it's going to be visible again and can be collected. And we've got our 3 ends, and we're doing great. We're almost done with this first script. Can you believe it? We've got one more small piece to add. So like I said, this function onCoinTouched can be called multiple times, but we do need to call it. So we're going to say for underscore comma coin in coin. So all the coins that are stored in my variable coins, helps if you spell it correctly, for every single coin that is stored in the coins variable, I want the routine or the program to say coin, set the attribute to enabled so that it is true. This kind of gets everything going. Coin touched, connect to my function, other part. Let's get this typed in, then I'll explain what's happening. And then onCoinTouched, other point, part, coin, and end. So here's what's happening. We set the attribute, we set our function up, but the function, until it is called, it never happens until you have to say onCoinTouched for this to actually do something. So for this to be called, we need to go through and attach to each coin the attribute that it is enabled and it's set to true, so the coin is touchable. And then if the coin is touched, I want to connect another function called function other part. That should not have 2 parentheses there. There. Other part, and then call onCoinTouched if the coin is touched, and pass to it who touched it, the player, and the coin that was touched, which one. So 1 through 10, I've got 10 over here. This goes through and attaches this touched routine to each of the 10 coins. But basically we've taken the coin, we said if a player touches it, create a function call and pass it other part and pass on coin touched the other part coin. There we go. So we can now test it and see what happens when we do our script. Okay, it's time to play test, the moment of truth. Did I make any typos? Are there any mistakes? Up here at the top in our script, hit the play button. This will launch our play test. There's my player. Everything's looking good so far. And we go over here, and that's should have spawned a dialogue. And to see our dialogue, we have to go over here to view, click on output, and there we get all of our messages. And it looks like I have an error in my script on line 2. It was expecting a colon, not a period. So let's stop our play, and we'll go back to our script and go here to line 2 and see what's going on. Yep, sure enough, that should have been a colon instead of a period. Like I said, there's going to be typos. I always make a lot of typos. Could be the dyslexia. Okay, so now we press play again. And we run over here and touch, and it disappeared! And we wait a few seconds. Player has collected the coin. And it should pop back up here in a few seconds. And look, they're coming back, just like they're supposed to. Yay! So, we have successfully completed our first script. How about that? Anytime you want to open your script again, and you can rename this. Right now it's called script. Let's name it coin script, so that we'll know exactly what it is. Because we're going to add a few more scripts to this. We're going to need some player user interface. We're going to want to keep track of how many coins they've collected. All kinds of things like that. But we have now created our first Lua script in our Roblox game. Congratulations. Good job. We'll see you next time, and we'll start putting some user interface up there so that we can see how many coins we collected.